What is up, everybody? We are back with some more Liga Runaterra de las Americas, and I am pretty excited because we had a pretty nice match. We only had one match for the day, unfortunately, after it seemed like we weren't going to get any games this weekend due to some technical difficulties on the streaming side of the players, but we did get this match under our belt, so very happy to be able to bring you guys Daiguren versus Noobs Never Cry. Yes, that's right. That is the name of the player. I think we end up referring to him as NNC throughout the game, but Noobs Never Cry. Props for the name choice, and pretty awesome gameplay. We also actually got to see Ezreal Karma. This deck does still exist. Yes, that's right, Ezreal Karma. So we'll see who is able to get the better of the other player in this game. Daiguren on Mafia eSports and Noobs Never Cry on Todo Runeterra. So we'll see which team is able to take it away here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the match.
How long, until we get bored of a deck? Because, Lee Sin hadn't seen play for so long, and now we're seeing it everywhere. How long are we going to be excited about Lee Sin? But there's no time to talk about that. These players are already getting into the game.
Yeah, all right. Let's go ahead and head on over here. We might be able to get two hands here in a second. For now, I'm just going to pull this up. It looks like we do have the other hand about to pop up here. So hopefully we'll be able to get that loaded up. It looks like we do. Yeah, this is what I like to see right from the start here. Totally different from yesterday, so let's go ahead, head on over to both hands. We have Noobs Never Cry versus Daiguren. Props to the name, otherwise known as NNC in a lot of the documents that we've been given, but Noobs Never Cry versus Daiguren here, and we already are starting out with the Karma Ezreal deck, and it looks like we're going to be going up against good old-fashioned TF Swain here.
Yep, I mean, pretty standard lineup on the side of NNC. You've got the Shen Fiora, you've got the Endure Spiders or the Warmos. I don't even remember which Shadow Isle failure deck you're on. I just looked at it, but I remember it's a Shadow Isle failure deck. I want to say Endure Spiders, but we'll figure that one out as we get to it. But yeah, Karma Ezreal, a deck that we haven't seen in quite some time. Ezreal, a lot of people, when he got the nerf, they were talking, we'll still see TF Ezreal because the level up condition doesn't really matter for him there. I'm really curious to see how this late game monster of Karma Ezreal can compete in this meta, especially because I've heard so many players compare the Targon Lee Sin deck to this deck specifically as the new sort of late game unstoppable Ionia combo deck.
Yeah, I don't know, and just knowing the old Karma Ezreal decks, if I were to put the Lee Sin deck up against the Karma Ezreal deck, I mean there is a lot of stuns and stuff to kind of prevent that whole Lee Sin effect from going off. Obviously having barrier, although obviously Bastion would prevent the stun as well. But I do think Karma Ezreal has a lot of tools to deal with something like that. So I would be interested to see that matchup today, Lee Sin versus Karma Ezreal. But for now, we're stuck with the TF Swain, which is, basically the replacement for Karma Ezreal. I don't know if you agree with that. I feel like Karma Ezreal was the #1 played deck for so long, and then we kind of shifted towards TF Swain, has pretty much generally been the #1 played deck for a while now.
Yeah, I feel like it's Ionia and Piltover Zon. Those are always sort of the two main culprits of any format where you're looking at a lot of one decks. We had Heimer Vi for so long, and Heimer Karma before that even. Before Call of the Mountain, even Rising Tides came out. Now we're just back into another Ionia meta, and it's really polarizing for these two regions because I feel like either Ionia is completely unstoppable or it's just not in the meta.
Yeah, that's actually a good point because all the play rates for Ionia and PNZ, obviously, as well, have just dipped incredibly as of late, but looks like for now we do have Noobs Never Cry attacking with the House Spider here. I don't know how many times I'm gonna go with NNC because now
that's
I
kind
feel
of where I was.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with NNC.
Speaking of things that we were feeling, remember when you were saying, you'll be able to get two hands by looking at my stream? SJW, we're on a 3-minute delay.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
I forgot that as well because I looked at the stream and I was like, we're still talking. Did he forget to go to the game? And I'm like, no, there's a delay. Can't get the hand out of there, so I'm gonna have to hop between the Discord channels. All sneaky like to find these players' hands.
Well, it sounded like a good idea at first. Oh man,
it was almost genius,
well,
but
if
it's
it makes
fine.
you feel better, your disadvantage is you can't see them both easily. Mine is I can't have the decks up, which is why I need a fourth screen.
Okay.
Coming soon.
Together,
So,
you and I make a whole person,
yeah.
a whole functioning production team.
All right, so it looks like we have the Dreadway deckhand gonna hit the field, bringing out one of those sweet kegs, and Karma Ezreal doing Karma Ezreal things, just kind of waiting, chilling, waiting for the right moment to kind of strike, kind of get some of these spells played. Obviously, want to try to get one of these deep meditations off by playing 2 spells at some point, but for now, just going to go ahead, challenge the keg, and importantly, put the priority back over to NNC for this turn.
So historically, let's talk about how Karma Ezreal versus TF Swain has looked in the past, because this is not a new matchup to us. I mean, the decks certainly have changed, from what they used to look like, but it's still sort of the same core matchup. And I feel like Karma Ezreal historically did pretty well against this, but I don't know how often we were seeing Riptide Rex out of TF Swain in those times, because Riptide Rex generally hailed as an extremely powerful card against Ionia regions, because they tend to play very light on board. They pillar on one kind of champion. They have the protection for it, but all the protection in the world isn't going to save you from a Riptide Rex.
Yeah, so Riptide's been in the deck so long, I can't even actually remember back to the time when it wasn't played, but you are right. There was actually a time when Riptide was not just dominant throughout the entire meta. For some reason, I still don't know why people thought it wasn't as good as it actually is when it first came out. People very much overlooked it. It was kind of weird. But yeah, and actually another, change, that's a change in thinking overall, but now a change in a card nerf. We see Jack the Winner on the field here, and going from 6 to 5 health. We'll see if that's going to be impactful at all in this game.
Oh my god.
Wow, that is a lot of claws. Wow. So suddenly the Karma Ezreal deck has a completely different win condition. we're just gonna flood the field, and this is an aggro go face deck. It's cool.
Yeah, that Twisted Fate in NNC's hand not really going to do a whole lot in this matchup, and I think that's just one of those cards that really didn't play super well for the TF Swain, and I'm actually really curious to see how this Jack the Winner is going to do. Unfortunately, we are seeing him after the nerf. I think it would have been really interesting to see how this matchup played out while Jack was still at a 5-6, because one of the big problems with the TF Swain deck is that they don't have a lot of mid-game. They have a lot of little dinky guys. They would generally try to go wide around the Karma Ezreal, but I mean, with 3 Claws of the Dragon, that was never a realistic option unless you can somehow sneak in a keg with a Twisted Fates red card. But for the most part, I think that having those few extra mid-rangey units not actually going to work out just because you have so few of them. Generally, when we see mid-range type decks work out against Karma Ezreal, it's because you have so many of these things that you can overwhelm your opponent. But, I mean, Leviathan, Swain, and I guess the problem is Jack doesn't feel like he needs to be answered like Swain and Leviathan do.
No, he can kind of hang out for a little bit depending on the situation in the game. Like at this point in the game, Daiguren's at 16, not really worried about the Sleep with the Fishes getting too much value. On top of that, I can't see the deck list, but is there any heal in Daiguren's list?
I think we saw a health potion down onto one of his units earlier to prevent a Ravenous Flock. I don't know if that's the only copy. There are 2 health potions.
There's 2. Okay, so there's a little bit of heal in there as well. So I don't think Daiguren's too concerned right now about any of the aggression that NNC might put out. So I agree with you. I don't really think that Jack the Winner is going to have to be dealt with anytime soon here. But we are going to see, for the time being, 1 Sleep with the Fishes. And it's interesting. So NNC is looking like he wants to go with that more aggressive approach with, getting the keg with the Petty Officer, going into the Sleep with the Fishes with it, doing the 3 damage instead of 2. We'll see if that's going to work out. I don't know if it will. I mean, we already have this Eye of the Dragon on the field. You can already see the Dragon Link token generated by it. And honestly, I mean, there's plenty more options in hand. And even if the Eye of the Dragon gets killed, we have another one that we can get down with plenty of spells to pair with it.
That is true, and I think that Daiguren's probably going to get another Dragonling on the next turn, as I would assume we're going to see a kill onto the Jack the Winner this turn. Could follow it up with a, I guess, Thermo Beam. Nothing else is looking too enticing. You don't really want to Steel Tempest any of these units. You kind of want to save that for the heavier hitters in the deck. But this is, very importantly, the Riptide Rex turn. And I think that's what the Sleep with the Fishes is setting up for. Otherwise, I don't think you really want to do that on Jack pre-combat. But I do think this means we're going to see the Riptide come down, and that should wipe through most of the board of Daiguren, and that could be the difference maker.
Yeah, so, we saw all those claws come out. This is juicy. This is juicy for Riptide. When you see an entire board flooded with 2 health units, that feels really good. Does miss one of them, and I do believe that's why Daiguren decided to go ahead and put out that other Eye of the Dragon, so it does suck up 2 more of those cannon barrages, but will at least be able to respond with the gotcha, get rid of the Jack the Winner. I don't know. I mean, that definitely was a damn good turn from NNC, but I don't think Daiguren's completely out of this. It does lose some of the board, but
I think the claws of the dragon just don't represent enough advantage. You know, looking at his hand, he's probably going to throw out the thermo beam onto the Riptide here, and that leaves no removal for the twist. Actually, just going to let it go. Says I will go ahead and block that one. So I guess we're going to see the Steel Tempest. But this Twisted Fate isn't dying. Oh, maybe we're going to see Steel Tempest into the kill on the Twisted Fate with the Thermo Beam, understanding that this TF has been on the board a little bit too long, is starting to threaten a level up, and that'll certainly end the game. But that means Daiguren's left with 2 Rummages, and unless he finds, I have to think it would have to be very specifically Chump Wump into Karma. And I don't even know if he plays Chump Wump. I think it's just Eye and Claws of the Dragon. So the Rummage is actually a little confusing to me in this deck. I know that we haven't seen them in quite some time. You know, we do. It's obviously phenomenal in Karma Ezreal because you get to draw 4 off of it. But generally, we're seeing the Chump Lump alongside it. This does not feel good for Daiguren.
Yeah, never mind. I take it all back. That's. I mean, the Deep Meditation helps, but yeah, I think 100% the only way Daiguren's going to get back in this now is a Karma, and we obviously know how strong Rummage with Karma on the field can be. So it can definitely get him back in the game. But that Riptide. We were just talking about it. That is exactly why Riptide is so good. Still have no idea why it was overlooked when it first came out for exactly the reason we just saw last turn. We'll see what the Deep Meditation gets. Deny, not gonna. Wow, yeah, those are.
That's really nothing, especially against the hand that new NNC has. I mean, the salvage can't be denied, anything like that. We even get to see the Arachnoid Sentry for the Ezreal this turn if he really wants to. But yeah, I think it was reasonable for Riptide to be overlooked. Let's talk about that for a second, because when he came out, everybody knew that Riptide was good. We were just really struggling to find a deck that fit him. And then once we kind of accepted that we could run Warning Shot in these NAB decks, started doing that kind of transitioned into the Twisted Fate Swain deck. We had the NAB versions that were even down to like something like 1 Leviathan, but they were on 3 Riptide Rex. And then Riptide just kind of stuck in the deck after they cut the NAB package. But I think that once you took out the Warning Shot, running Riptide Rex felt a little bit weird. I do think this is the only deck we ever see that runs Riptide without Warning Shot.
So interestingly enough, I think one of the reasons Riptide wasn't played when it first came out was this deck, Karma Ezreal. I think that the most obvious thing to use Riptide for was Ezreal targets. But people were like, why play Riptide when you have Karma Ezreal, which is freaking amazing? So I think that's one of the reasons why people were just, all right, let's ignore this card. It's no big deal. But yeah, Warning Shot. I think a lot of people thought Warning Shot wasn't really like that good of a thing. But then people started realizing, wow, Plunder's pretty good. Wow, Sejuani's a thing. Freezing the entire board, it seems, feels pretty good. And yeah, now basically Riptide doesn't want to go away now. He's he's around and he is here to stay.
So we've got the deny for the Sleep with the Fishes. That'll at least deny that route to lethal, but NNC does still have this salvage in hand. And I mean, you also don't have an answer for the Sleep with the Fishes that is going to come out on NNC's first priority sequence, and there's nothing Daiguren's going to be able to top deck that is going to represent 18 damage or kill the Jack the Winner in response or the Riptide in response. I definitely think that NNC's got this one all locked up. This is limbo. Whoa.
You mean to tell me there's no card in this game that can deal 18 damage in one turn? Are you kidding me?
Actually, there is. It's called the Great Beyond.
I was just going to say, yeah, the Elusives, yeah. Wow, all right. And NNC going to take it there game 1 over Daiguren. We'll see if we're able to go to 3 games here, if Daiguren's able to make a comeback starting in game 2 with this Karma Ezreal. So right now, I mean, first time in a while anyways that we've seen this Karma Ezreal deck. Doesn't seem too hot right now. Not after that game.
That does not look good, but I don't know if that's necessarily Karma Ezreal or the way that Daiguren has built the deck. We've also only seen 1 game of it, so it's way too early to say, okay, Karma Ezreal can't compete in this format, especially since we've only seen it against 1 deck. A Riptide Rex deck at that, now against Endure Spiders. This is a matchup where, I don't know, I still feel like the Karma Ezreal is going to struggle a little bit. You really need to lean on those denies and those stun effects for the Endure, and is this the first time we've seen Karma Ezreal since the Endure nerf? I don't even remember when that was at this point.
Well, I don't think the first time ever, but it's the first time that it's popping up more, I think.
Yeah.
Since the Endure nerf, yeah. Yep.
I'm starting to get my patches confused.
It's all the same thing, right? Although I don't think anybody's ever going to confuse the patch that Bastion got buffed, followed by the patch that it will likely get nerfed.
Yeah, that one was a little bit much.
So we'll see what happens with that one. But all right, so as far as the hand is concerned from Daiguren, it does have another Claws of the Dragon here. And, this doesn't seem like the worst hand in the world. We do have deep med to start digging for some more tools, kind of replenish those resources. Also, now have the early karma. But then again, the last game that we saw, it wasn't that bad of a hand either. So I'm curious to see how this plays out in the early part of the game.
Already not looking phenomenal. You do get the stun down to stop out some of this aggression.
Is degression a word?
I don't think so. But is this main decked Undying? No, this came out of the... I feel like more and more recently I've seen Undying pop out of these...
Well, you're saying that because Undying won that game that one time.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, I think it was even earlier this week, or maybe I was watching a stream. I don't remember exactly, but I definitely feel like Undying's been weighted a little bit more heavily in those Warden spray pools.
Everybody watching, that's how you know a card is good. If one of us says that card won this game that one time, that means it's a great card. It's absolutely phenomenal, fantastic.
Free of criticism.
Yeah, no criticism, zero. So we got the gotcha onto the Wraithcaller here. Yeah, I mean, awesome start for NNC, right? I mean, does have plenty of early aggression here. Has the Wraithcaller, has the Bark Beast up to the 3/3. But there are plenty of stuns in Daiguren's hand to kind of take care of this. Also even has the Tail of the Dragon that will come out here in a second, a Concussive Palm. So, deny on Glimpse is also good, denying an early Glimpse Beyond. But
it's good, but it's definitely awkward.
Yeah, it's like single combat. Single combat and Glimpse feel like you have to deny them.
Yeah.
But you never want to because they cost 2 and deny costs 4. It just feels bad.
And I mean, Daiguren's still down on cards, even after the deny on the Glimpse. It would have been disastrous if he didn't go for it. But, we haven't seen this Karma Ezreal deck out of him, sort of hang on to cards super well. And I wonder if a product of that is, playing something like Rummage without any sort of free card generation like you get out of the Chump Wump. And one thing that's really interesting to me is I feel like if you're going to not run Targon Lee Sin, sort of the boogeyman of the format for the time being, I can get behind that if you are wanting to split up your Ionia and your Targon so that you can diversify your threats and get some better matchups. But Daiguren Rise just isn't running Targon.
Oh, okay. And I actually agree with you 100%. If he's not splitting up those two regions, I don't really see a reason to run Karma Ezreal. Unless Daiguren has some sort of read that we're missing as far as this deck being good. But again, it doesn't seem like it's doing too hot as it currently stands.
Yeah, and I mean, he's played into 2 decks that are pretty prevalent in the meta. If you're getting sort of these one-sided games against what is supposed to, like, this is the field that that you're playing into. If you're getting one-sided matchups that aren't in your favor, we are going to be a little bit questioning of it. And I actually think that was a misblock on the side of Daiguren Rise. I think if you block the Bark Beast all the way to the right, then you only take 1 damage from the Bark Beast rather than the 3.
The 3/3 from it, from it dying. I got to agree with you there. So a little bit of a miss by Daiguren there. And I mean, do you just play the deep med here instead of banking the spell mana just to get it off for the reduction in cost?
Yeah, I don't think that this is...
I had a feeling in my gut that was going to happen, and I feel like at that point you just have to play it because you're already behind in card advantage. And that's the thing, right? Like, this happened last game too. This deck, Karma Ezreal, should not be behind like this early on card advantage, but it's having to use so many tools to keep up with the aggression from his opponent that this is the situation we end up in. We have a naked Karma on field that, yeah, sure, this type of deck that NNC is playing in Endure does not really have the removal tools to deal with it. But look at this board. Does he even need to care about removing it? No.
Yeah, I do think that this, the lack of playing that deep med for 3 and just banking the spell mana, I think that he's going to have to fire off the deep med on this turn probably to find something. So just playing that mana inefficiently, never going to feel great. Actually might get bailed out by this health pot top deck and not have to fire that off. Can get it down to 3 for the following turn.
Yeah, it always feels good drawing that 1 mana burst speed spell with a deep med in hand. But
it also kind of makes sense that he's down on cards, right? I mean, we saw a Warden's Prey that popped out a free card. We saw the Wraithcaller pop out a free card. Meanwhile, you're playing things like Steel Tempest and Health Potion. These are just inherently -1s. So
unless you're playing Yasuo.
Yeah, so it's understandable for him to be behind on resources for now. Generally, we see them picking up in the mid game, but I don't even think his Ezreal leveled last game. I think it got stuck at 9 out of 10 if I saw that correctly.
No, it was that high. I didn't even think it got up that high.
I didn't think it got that high either.
I think it was like
it's
7.
possible that it was a 4 or a 7, something that.
Wow. All right, so now we're just all over the place. It could have been 1.
It was definitely a number that had some action going on in the top left quadrant and a line coming down the right side. So 7, 4, or 9.
Somewhere between 0 and 10.
I'm willing to bet it was, 4, 7, or 9. Just one of those. But it looks like now. I mean, do you deny this Bark Beast trigger?
I don't think it matters. Does it matter? I don't think. I'm sorry. I can't actually answer that question seriously. It just doesn't matter.
That's fair. I mean, you are going to start to get the Dragonling train going on this turn. Will of Ionia, not a bad card to pop out. I actually don't know if the Resonating... Yeah, the Resonating Strike actually probably was good, because that means you get to take the Crescent Strike, or the Crescent Guardian, rather, off the table with this Dragonling and get a little bit of extra life steal, so that card even getting a little bit of value here. But, I mean, Will of Ionia into the current board? Absolutely awful.
Well, Will of Ionia in general, it just with that mana change up to 5, just seems way less relevant. And I don't know if that, I said it probably doesn't matter. He's probably out of the game. I mean, that Dragonling did give him a little bit of life steal to get back in this. Possibly has another Dragonling coming out. But yeah, your reaction to that They Who Endure, I don't think there's just too much on the side of NNC.
If he can survive the next turn and get a Karma's Inside of Ages off, we could see that swing a game. And it takes some doing. I can't even begin to think of what would have to pop out of that, because even something like the board wipe here, Singular Will, that doesn't sound right.
Singular Will's the 10 cost, return everything.
Okay, yeah, that is Singular Will.
Yeah, I'm pretty
okay,
sure.
That's what I wanted to say, but I wasn't 100%. I don't even think Singular Will helps here, because you're just giving your opponent back Doom Beasts.
Wait, is Daiguren main decking Singular Will?
No, but I'm talking about a Karma's Inside of Ages.
Oh, gotcha.
Because I don't think we've seen a Karma's Inside of Ages since Call of the Mountain came out. So.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I think at this point too, Daiguren. Well, actually, at this point, the advantage is kind of evened up on the side of both players now, so I don't think Daiguren needs to wait to play Inside of Ages until he's enlightened, but coming back a little bit, the attack token is on the side of NNC, so as long as Daiguren can make it through this turn, like you had mentioned, we got the health pot, we have the deny to possibly stop, something like an Atrocity coming out. The issue is now we have 2 more They Who Endure in hand. We might just see back-to-back-to-back They Who Endure attack turns, and that might be too much for Daiguren to deal with.
I think he's going to be able to survive this turn because, he has 4 blockers. He has the Concussive Palm and the Will of Ionia, even the Health Potion.
But do you survive 3 They Who Endures back-to-back like that?
I think if he finds an Ezreal once Karma... Oh, no, yeah. You want to rearrange that a little bit. Yep, and stun the Ephemeral one so that it dies at the end of the turn, and then you can go ahead and Will of Ionia that one. Yeah, I think he's going to be able to hang on to the Karma, and I think he can even hang on to the Health Potion until the Karma's leveled. If he can find Ezreal, he's actually got a pretty good shot, I want to say.
Yeah, now that we're heading towards Enlightenment here on turn 10, and Ezreal, I mean, with 3 burst spells in hand, 2 of which actually create more spells, yeah, I mean, Daiguren might just be able to 20-0 NNC here relatively quick. We'll see if the top deck Ezreal comes, but what really matters, though, more importantly, is that it seems like Daiguren will be able to continue to live on here, not just through this attack turn, but maybe even the next attack turn, just now seemingly having a lot more resources than NNC here, and now having Karma enlightened and leveled up.
Yeah, this Karma's got to do a brunt of the work, and we get another Karma off the top. Not exactly what I meant. But I mean, the Ezreal's not even leveled yet, and there are no cards that currently target in Daiguren's hand, so Whimsy's a really big pickup, actually.
Good. Whimsy is spectacular. And now, all of a sudden, I am very much favoring Daiguren in this matchup. Whimsy is probably... They Who Endure, Whimsy, match made in heaven for the Whimsy player.
He's even going to get, if I remember correctly, he's got, that +4/+0 and quick attack.
Are you saying could represent something like lethal?
Could represent a 10 life point swing on the Dragonling.
Oh, yep, yeah. Not to mention, I mean, the double casted health pot. I mean, Daiguren at this point is going to be back up to 20.
Yeah, and the Endors are going to be coming down as 12/12s. So he'll actually be out of range of an Endor attack.
Yeah, and both would have to be played, too, because of this Whimsy. If one does come down this turn, and then we follow it up with a second on the attack turn of NNC, that might... Actually, no, we have the Will of Ionia, too. Will of Ionia plus Whimsy actually takes care of that on that turn, and by then... I mean, I think we're just going to be too many turns into the game. Daiguren's probably going to have an answer to basically everything that comes out of NNC.
Yeah, that Karma's Inside of Ages just completely swung the game back in Daiguren Rise's favor. What if... Okay, follow me here. What if we just take the Ezreal out of this deck? What if we just play a hardcore Karma control deck? Just play a hardcore Karma control deck. You could even cut PNZ at that point, maybe go for, Shadow Isle, I guess. Those seems to be, it has some doubled up spells that could do you a lot of good.
Does it rhyme with poopy?
No. It rhymes with Pookie.
Oh, okay. The technicality there. All right. All right.
Okay, has the Ezreal now. Doesn't have a whole lot that actually gets doubled up on the targeting by the Karma. Whimsy will of Ionia won't. That second one going to fizzle. But as we had mentioned, he has two answers for two indoors. It's kind of beautiful how that one lines up. Even has the deny for an atrocity if he does just want to let one of these stick around. So the Will of Ionia will just put it back in the hand. But that Ezreal sitting at 5 out of 10. So we are still pretty far off. Even if you play the Whimsy and the Will this turn, you're only up to 8. Good thing Ezreal doesn't level at 8 anymore.
I don't know if that's going to matter, though. I mean, at this point, I regret earlier saying that it didn't matter when NNC was making that play because, wow, Daiguren. And I guess this is what I'm not used to seeing because we haven't seen a lot of Karma Ezreal as of late. And that's this kind of aggro control matchup. So many times in that matchup, no matter what deck, the control deck is down to 2, 3, 4 health, and then magically fingers snap and boom, all of a sudden they're back at 20 and in control. And this is exactly what we're seeing here with Daiguren, just having absolutely every tool at his disposal here. Wow.
Okay, so I like the pass here. You could overwrite one of your 1/2s to play the Ezreal. You could also wait for NNC to go to combat, and then your Dragonling will block the Whimsied one. It'll die, and you just free up space organically. So, okay, we're going to see the Dragonling actually pull to the side. I don't think any of this really matters. The health potion can get committed to the Karma at this point. You are kind of healthy enough to stop that one. So, yeah, I don't think this really impacts anything on the side of Daiguren Rise.
Yeah, there's way too many answers. I mean, even if NNC gets to a point where there is an atrocity in the mix, we have had this deny chilling in hand for quite some time now. And not only, plus the Will of Ionia, but I imagine we'll see that come out this turn with the Whimsy like we've been mentioning. So there's, wow. I want to see this Ezreal go off now. The issue is, actually, Whimsy and Will of Ionia would give the additional 2 targets this turn.
Will of Ionia doesn't give double targets. The second one fizzles.
No. I'm saying Whimsy plus Will of Ionia would give 2.
Oh, yeah. Well, Whimsy's going to give 2, so Will of Ionia is going to be at the third one, and he's going to go up to 8.
So Whimsy does double target on the cast?
Yeah. Yep.
It's not just going off of the original unit?
Well, it's the same unit, so it just targets the 1/1 squirrel and turns it into a 1/1 squirrel.
Huh, okay. Cool. All right, so then, yeah, would you say that'll put him at 8 after this?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So
the health potion instead of the suit up. A little interesting. I think that, you did have the mana for the suit up. I understand wanting to save the 2 spell mana, but that could have been a different line. It would have reduced the attack on the Karma, but would have saved you that health pot for sort of an emergency case. But I don't think Daiguren's going to come into something like that. And even still has this trail of evidence, but now is going to be the aggressor for the first time this game. And it looks like he's eyeing that suit up onto the Ezreal, actually. Turned that into a 4/4.
Because who doesn't like a 4/4 Ezreal? It seems pretty good.
One of the things that hasn't really come up recently, but was sort of the main win con for the Targon Ezreal deck, was the gems onto the Ezreal and just turning him into like this 5-attack elusive unit. Daiguren Rise has the same sort of line available to him. Once that Ezreal levels, it'll be a 5/5 if you throw the suit up onto it pre-level.
I would love to see the suit up. Oh, he didn't do it. Man, I really wanted to see that. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's where Daiguren's going. But I don't really think it's going to matter at this point. Again, still just having so many options. Even has now a recall to be able to get this Ezreal back to hand if he needs to protect it, if NNC does find some sort of way to remove it or challenge it or whatever. But obviously, they who endure decks don't typically have removal. So this field is probably sticking around from Daiguren, and that means we have Ezreal and Karma just straight chilling on board for quite some time now.
I think if he didn't have the Steel Tempest picked up off the Trail of Evidence, he might have gone for the suit up, understanding, okay, I actually need to race. You can play an Endure next turn. I can survive that hit, but he does critically pick up the stun effect, so not going to have to worry about the attack. Does still have the deny for the atrocity as well, so I even think this Mystic Shot... I mean, the Mystic Shots are going to go on to the They Who Endure if it comes down now, just because that'll level the Ezreal. Otherwise, I don't think it's unreasonable to send them face. But I think this is just going to be another snap pass out of Daiguren Rise. Says if you want to play your Endure and then attack me, go for it. I don't think anything is really going to impact the way this plays out at this point. I'm pretty sure Daiguren just has this one signed, sealed, delivered.
Yeah, I mean, we could see both Mist Wraiths come out just to avoid... Actually, well, no, it would still get the double target, so it doesn't even matter.
It still gets the double target on the Wraith Caller.
Yeah, so we're, no matter what, pretty much going to see this Ezreal level up, and once that happens, next turn... we're going into Karma and Ezreal on the board with full mana, including spell mana, and that is a recipe for success for Karma Ezreal, and it's looking like we're going to see a win here in just a second out of Daiguren. Man, I haven't seen that happen with a Karma on the board in a while, so... Oh, man. See, now, Boulevard and I were talking about this earlier for everybody watching. We're kind of excited to see this Karma Ezreal deck in action again because it has been a while. We'll see how long that lasts, depending on how many games we get to see of it today.
Yeah, I mean, this could be... Well, this isn't going to be the only one. There is another player on the team that has brought Karma Ezreal as well. I believe this is Team Mafia. Yeah, Mafia eSports. Yeah. Another hipster has also brought the deck, and I don't know if he's playing at the same time. Maybe we'll get him in on next round. We'll have to find that one out when we actually get around to that. But for now, we're going to sit here and watch the solitaire action as the Karma Ezreal kind of does its thing, plays out all these burst spells, and even picks up the Flash of Brilliance.
Oh, and the Singular Will that we were talking about earlier.
Is that a Poro Cannon?
Oh, insult to injury with the Poro Cannon. Well, now you can't win unless you're summoning the Daring Poros there. So we need to win with the elusive attacks now.
Unfortunately, did kill him with that Flash of Brilliance.
Oh, oops. Oopsie. Played too many spells, killed the opponent.
And, I definitely feel like that's a combo player problem where you're still going through your combo and it's like, actually, I died like 5 moves ago.
Yeah. So Daiguren is going to go ahead, tie it up there 1-1 versus NNC. And it looks like we have... Well, that's Thresh, so I'm going to imagine this is Zombie Ash. And then we'll see what NNC is going to queue up here in just
Endure Spiders.
Oh, it's going to be the same deck, Endure Spiders. So, all right. So, I'm actually trying to think of the last time we saw Endure versus Zombie Ash. I feel like Zombie Ash, because of the Frostbite, almost always going to win this game.
This is a nearly unwinnable matchup for the Endure Spiders.
Yeah,
it's really rough.
Frostbite, man. And we've said that. Well, no, here's the thing, though, because I feel like we've said this same thing about mid-range Frostbite versus Endure Spiders, which I do think Zombie Ash is a better matchup than mid-range Frostbite, but we have seen mid-range Frostbite pull out wins being aggressive.
Yes.
So, or sorry, the They Who Endure pull out wins being aggressive. So I feel like we could see the same thing here with the They Who Endure Spiders in, just going all out with all the small units, the Wraith Callers really early on and just trying to go face and win early, which the hand doesn't seem too bad. We do need something to tribute. Don't have that yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, Blighted Caretaker is sort of a big difference maker in a matchup like this just because the Rhymefang Wolves do get to help fight for board, but if I have to use a Brittle Steel to save a Rhymefang from an ephemeral challenger and then I don't have that on the offense, then it really doesn't make a whole lot of a difference. I'm still losing my Rhymefang Wolf, and that's a card that I really need to try to hang on to. But there are more, Challenger Frostbite combos in a deck like this, and it's not things like... The big difference between Frostbite midrange and the Zombie Ash deck in the early game, once we get to that Rhymefang Ash turn, similar to the Glory Seeker Ash turn, is that Rhymefang doesn't die to Vile Feast or Unspeakable Horror.
Very big deal. Yeah. It's 100% right. I mean, for that reason, Glory Seeker, it kind of feels bad sometimes when that happens. What also feels bad, though, on the side of NNC, we just saw basically the first turn of aggression out of NNC on turn 2 there with the attack token. 1 damage with a Bark Beast. That is not how you want this game to start with the Endure Spiders deck. You want to be the aggressor like we just mentioned. So I think, honestly, this is off to a bad start for NNC, and it's going to be all uphill from here if he's going to want to take this one home.
And looking at the hands as they line up, I got to say that Daiguren's in a really good spot. NNC running into one of those sort of awkward early game Endure Spider turns that we've seen. The combo's not always working out the way that you want them to. And we've talked before about how awkward it can be. Endure Spiders definitely feels like one of the decks where which attack turn you have matters a lot. Mm-hmm. Just because, you're trying to set up this Callista into this Blighted Caretaker combo, but now you're going to lose the Bark Beast. You don't have the availability to go for that. Whereas if NNC had the attack token this turn, could have thrown down the Caretaker onto that Bark Beast and actually taken out the Rhymefang. We do see the Vile Feast that would have stopped it, and that's one of the reasons that Daiguren Rise is feeling very favored to win a matchup like this. And now we're going to see the Glimpse Beyond. I would imagine the Vile Feast is going to counter this one out.
Yeah, and that's That's, again, going to feel really bad for NNC. And I do agree with you on the attack token statement because I feel like it's all pivoting around Blighted Caretaker too. Because you just want the attack token on turn 3 so that you can play that Caretaker into a pretty aggressive turn with those 2 ephemeral challengers. And yeah, it feels super bad to have that happen. What I will say is if you have the attack token on turn 3, that means you also have it on turn 7, which means that's when They Who Endure comes down. So odds very much better for the Endure Spiders. Unfortunately, not really catching that break here with NNC, and not really catching the aggression break either, because usually you want a wider board than this at this point in the game.
I mean, there are spaces where
what? Just is he trying to just go for the Callista? Yeah.
It looks that way. Yeah, it's going to go for the Callista level, but I mean that is going to get him a Wraith Caller.
Yeah, but it still feels like you could definitely tell it's a play that basically is a necessity and a requirement at this point, because there's really no choice for NNC to just try to continue to be the aggressor. And if NNC runs out of steam and Daiguren keeps having the answers, then it just is what it is, and Daiguren takes it home. Yeah,
for what it's worth, if NNC did have the attack token on evens, his hand actually would have been really insane if he had something like exactly a Cursed Keeper.
Yeah.
He would have had that Bark Beast into Cursed Keeper, Ravenous Butcher turn 2. You have the attack token on 4 for the big turns. I actually think in a matchup like this, having the attack tokens on evens is generally going to be better for the Endure Spider player, just because if you want to play Endure on turn 7 and attack with it, you do open yourself up to things like Ice Veil Archers, so it does feel a little bit better when you get to open attack with the Endure.
You're just saying that to disagree with me. Don't lie.
Okay.
That's the only reason you're saying that.
Someone's got to keep us, a little separate, a little unbiased.
Here's something.
We got to see some conflict.
Here's something we probably both agree on. Depending on what turn you do have the attack token on, your playstyle is going to alter dramatically.
Yes.
And that's something that you have to prepare for. And again, like you mentioned with the Curse Keeper, there was no Curse Keeper, unfortunately, and that's what I mentioned with not having a tribute. And when you have 2 Ravenous, like NNC had. Yeah, that's not too hot. You didn't even have a Hapless Aristocrat at that time either, which kind of stank.
Yeah, so. It's. You ever notice that there are certain cards that have the same word in their name that are just nothing alike, like Ravenous Butcher and Ravenous Flock?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I literally was gonna say Ravenous Flock when I went to go say that. So I know I'm not the only one. Thank God. Oof, card names, they're hard, man. English, hard language. So we'll see what Daiguren decides to do here. At this point, we are going into turn 6, right? And NNC will have the attack token, but Daiguren's still sitting pretty at 17 health. Also has the Harsh Winds. NNC is starting to get together some aggression, but that is all going to end once Callista is dead. That was pretty much the last threat that NNC had to really take home the game, at least right now anyways. So we'll see if NNC is able to draw something like an Endure. That's that's about it.
I feel like we're constantly saying, you have to find something like, oh no, it's really just this one card is the only thing that you can possibly find. I think we're going to see a defensive Harsh Winds on this turn to save the Ash and the Rhymefang Wolf. But, I mean, things looking still pretty good for Daiguren Rise. He is a long ways off of actually winning the game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a while before he can get through NNC's board. He is going to have to use some of these defensive tools here, but I don't think he's going to feel too bad about it since he does still have a Vengeance for the Endure. Also has those, if you can hang on to the Frostbite Rhymefang combo, then that's sort of another answer for the Endure as long as you can stop its attack the turn it comes down. Or, I mean, you could even just take one. That's we're getting to a point where that's the only threat in the deck. This is probably the last non-Endure damage that Daiguren Rise is going to take if you don't count that Hapless Aristocrat, because, I mean, we're not blocking that.
No. We absolutely are.
Or that
Cursed Keeper, yeah. I don't know why. I always alternate between Cursed and Cursed. And I don't know why, because I never say Cursed in real life when I say the word Cursed. I always say Cursed. I don't know if it's just because of the... Yeah, I don't know if it's because of the card, but...
Thresh is a really big pickup here for Daiguren.
Especially on curve with this Ice Veil Archer. That feels so sweet. He'll be able to Frostbite this Abomination, pop down that Thresh, challenge it, kill it. We'll be Frostbiting something else with the Ash if we do decide to attack, which I don't think we will. It'll probably just be the Thresh. But, wow. Yeah, that huge pickup. And because of Endure decks, because of how many units they play, this bad boy is going to level up pretty quick.
So the Ash is safe to attack here. The only thing that you're worried about is Unspeakable Horror, because she's going to Frostbite that last 3 attack unit.
And look what's in hand. Uh-oh.
I mean, this is a deck that's full of, reanimation tools for the Ash.
Oh, she's actually going to level up. It's so not even
Oh,
worried
never mind.
about that. And the way, so, all right, actually pulled. Okay, yeah. So the way that this works out, not even going to be worried about Unspeakable Horror. Still going to be at least 2 health on the Ashe. And wow, yeah, this is continuing to look better and better for Daiguren. Like you said, might be a little while because we do eventually need a harrowing or at least like maybe another couple of units. I mean, we do have the Kindly Tavern Keeper in hand to maybe push a little bit more aggression, but I don't know if that's going to be quick enough. It's not really what Daiguren wants to do because then that gives NNC a chance to get this Endure down, and just more turns to draw Atrocity is never good.
Definitely not, but NNC at least can't just kind of keep throwing his board relentlessly at Daiguren because he has the Thresh on board, so he's going to be able to start to build up those Thresh stacks, and if he can get 2 Ashes out, that's really what he's looking for to try to end the game in a timely fashion before you give your opponent, infinity turns to go ahead and try and draw that Endure, even if you have answers for it.
And we have another Unspeakable Horror drawn. We have the arrow coming off the top, obviously. And Kindly Tavern Keeper actually really big in this matchup as well. It just puts you that much more out of range of the potential Endure Atrocity combo because I don't think Endure's at 14. Definitely not. I think it might not even have been at 11. It might be at like 10 or 9 or something like that. A lot of these units on board would have to die for it to really be close to, being lethal with Atrocity.
Hold on, SJW. Open up your mind's eye. Replay the game in your head. Tell me what his Endure is at in 3, 2, 1, go. Say a number.
7.
7? What the? Oh my god.
I don't know. I say 7 in response to like almost any question in life.
We've seen a Blighted Caretaker come down.
Yeah, so that's 2. I feel like a lot of those units have just been chilling for a while. I don't know. I'm going with 7. 7's my choice, and I'm sticking with it. And I'm probably wrong, but hey, it's a guess. That's why we need spectator mode. Although I can't even imagine that spectator mode would even track something like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna like give us the by the way the Endure is at.
Yeah.
Okay, so Celestial Generation. I mean. The Great Beyond, we keep talking about these other cards that can kind of just one-shot your opponent out of nowhere.
Whoa. I'm feeling a Cosmic Inspiration here, all right? There's a lot of things to buff up.
Oh, these are terrible.
Oh,
these are absolutely terrible. So I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't know which perspective you're going from, but we have the Serpent, Moonglow, and Cosmic Rays. Cosmic Rays, as good as it looks, uncastable without another Celestial to held. So I mean, I guess you just take the Serpent and you kind of go from there. Moonglow wouldn't have been totally unreasonable. At least this gets the Rhyme Fang off the field, but I don't really want to overwrite any of my units to play this, I feel.
No, you absolutely don't. You need to eke out any tiny bit of value you can from every single one of these units right now. But again, like you said, and obviously NNC agreeing with you, can't just, toss all of his units at Daiguren because that Thresh will level. Okay, well, wait. Is this just 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? I actually totally forgot about the arrow.
I saw the arrow, and I was like, is that lethal? Counted it up real quick, said, no, it's not, and decided, we're still too far away for me to really care about this. But if you can find, I don't think there's actually any unit in the deck other than Rekindler, or the Harrowing, actually, could be enough for the lethal.
Wow. You want to talk about overkill? How about Harrowing and arrow?
Actually, Rekindler wouldn't have even done it because no champions have died.
Wait, is that the same Ashe that's been on the... Oh, no, because Thresh hasn't gone off yet.
Yeah.
So, I don't even think you get anything good with Harrowing right now. So, instead, going to go ahead and Glimpse. I don't know. Wouldn't you just attack... Or just maybe trying to find something bigger, I guess?
Yeah, it's a little bit strange to me since we can't play Harrowing after doing that. Rekindler's cool, but as we had mentioned, doesn't actually get us anything.
Yeah, I don't really know why we didn't attack first. I mean, we still have the Babbling Beard to essentially replace it, but that seems a little odd to me that just went down like that. Please don't attack now. At least play the Babbling Beard. Like, are you playing on Ruination? Does NNC play Ruination?
No, that'd be wild. I mean, we've seen it before, but
that's why. Hey, that's our job as casters, right?
Yeah.
Throw out the random card that might be in the deck. So, unfortunately, still not going to be enough for lethal.
I'm actually a little surprised, admittedly, that we went for just the damage push rather than controlling the board a little bit more and leveling this Thresh. But, okay, that's actually just going to be enough to get the surrender out of NNC.
He stopped the bleeding. NNC getting taken down there 2-1. All right, so our first game today for LRA, and we have seen Karma Ezreal in action, and... I mean, it looked like it was a rough game the first game, and then it looked like it was going to be rough the second game, but then turned out to be really good for the second game. It did exactly what, we kind of expect control decks to do, especially, Karma Ezreal barely squeaking by there with 1 health and then suddenly being back up to 20. Spooky Karma, I'm looking at you. And yeah, so I actually am not impressed, but I think it's still definitely a viable deck right now, and definitely surprised to see it played so much less now.
I will be impressed if I see it take out Targon Lee Sin. That's sort of the boogeyman of the format. If you're going to bring out a janky deck, I have to assume that that's kind of what you're swinging for.
All right, so Daiguren going to go ahead and take it away 2-1 over NNC. So congrats to Daiguren, and very excited for LRA and the future of this league and all of the other leagues around Runeterra. Obviously, as you guys know, there's been some announcements made lately by Riot, and it just in regards to the competitive scene. So very excited to see that stuff. But as always, everybody stay healthy, stay positive. I hope it just works for you. Peace out.